Life Unrehearsed on CJD 800, brought to you by alavida.ca. Celebrate a life well lived before or after death.
Good afternoon and welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Del Vecchio. I specialize in free retirement home search and senior transition support. And we have a brand new co-host, Corrie Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss. Corrie, so proud to have you on the show for the first show. How are you feeling?
How am I feeling? I'm excited. Great to be here.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Way to go. No, so proud to be with you. Looking forward to our venture here together in the next several months. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself for those who might not know you.
So some people call me a GPS for life transitions, meaning guidance, perspective, and support. And that is seen through the clinical counseling that I do, the support groups that I offer, the Camp Erin bereavement camp for children that's
Great
free
camp.
in the summer. So all of that. But I couldn't do all of that if I didn't have a very supportive family. So my husband, Andy, who I've been married to for 29 years, and two beautiful daughters, Ashley and Justine.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to hear a lot about more about you in the coming weeks and the family and what you do in your day-to-day life. So very excited to have you with us on Life Unrehearsed. You know, we have a great schedule, a great show scheduled today here, Corrie. Coming up, you know, when I hear the phrase palliative care, you know, normally it brings up emotions of sadness, grief, and despair. But where, you know, you're not going to want to miss our conversation with an incredible woman that's literally redefining palliative care. And we're very honored to have in studio with us Teresa Dellar, Executive Director and co-founder of the West Island Palliative Care Residence. So that's going to be coming up very soon. And so, Corrie, your first show, you've been behind the scenes for the last couple of weeks, and you feeling okay?
Here it is. So far, so good. Matt is a great teacher, great trainer, and everybody is so patient. And I've been overwhelmed with the support that has come.
Yeah,
through
you
Facebook?
know what? It has been
Wow.
phenomenal. You know, for those that were listening last week, Stephanie Erickson's last show was last Sunday. Stephanie has moved on to some on-camera initiatives with her production company, This Matters to Me, and we wish Stephanie the very, very best. And that opened the door for Corrie to come on as co-host. So that Sunday night, we posted on our Life Unrehearsed Facebook page. And it just exploded. It was amazing, Corrie. You have quite the network. People were sharing and mazel tovs and congratulations all over the place.
Thanks, Mom.
Even interviewed by Rhonda Massad. Hey, Corrie, you get interviewed by Rhonda, you know you made it. You know, right. So that was fantastic. But you know what? It showed me that we may have perhaps a lot of you are listening to us for the first time, whether it's due to Corrie's and what happened in the past week, or just in general. Just you might be stuck in this crazy traffic that's here and listening to us for the first time. So I thought it might be appropriate to give a little recap of what we do. So the show is called Life Unrehearsed. Why? Well, I think we want to let everyone know that no matter how tough it is, and you could have the best laid out plans, stuff happens in life. And so what we try to do is we tackle the ins and outs of family life. It could be about yourselves, it could be about your elderly parents, or even your kids. So we'll discuss these topics and we try to navigate you through it all. Typically, the show is divided into two, so we'll have two guests, usually in studio or phone in, and we try our best to give you engaging guests, subject matter experts, and picking topics that are engaging and entertaining. We're 7 months into the show, very, very proud to be the #1 rated show in English Montreal on AM and FM. And Corrie, no pressure there. We're gonna
Right.
But we want to thank all of you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy today's show and all future shows. Now, your first show, Corrie, it's another first. We also happen to be have a new sponsor for the show that we wanted to let everyone know about. A company called Alavida, and this is just an amazing new company specializing in celebrations for a beautiful goodbye and a toast to life. So we want to thank them for their support and supporting Life Unrehearsed, and you could check them out at alavida.ca. All right, now We talked about our first guest. How about the second half of the show,
So
Corrie?
it is actually my pleasure to mention that in the second half of the show, we're going to be talking with Dr. Michael Dworkind. He is going to share some very insightful thoughts in relation to the topic of medical cannabis. I'm sure it's going to have quite the highs and lows.
Highs and lows. I get it. Oh, no, but it's actually a very hot topic, and it's going to be interesting. Just some of the prep and discussions I've had with him beforehand. It is fascinating. All right, Corrie, we'll throw it in your court to do the introduction.
Okay, well, it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce and talk with the Executive Director and co-founder of the West Island Palliative Care Residence, Teresa Dellar. She is not only a colleague of mine who has taught with me at McGill University in the School of Social Work, but she's also a friend. But really, beyond that, Teresa is someone who has taken a very difficult topic, one that people tend to want to avoid, the whole issue and area around death and dying, and she's really helped navigate people through their worst time in their lives, and not only the individual who is dying, but their families. And I've never seen anybody be able to do it better than Teresa. So we want to talk about how she does it. And so welcome to the show, Teresa.
Thank you very much,
Welcome,
Corrie,
Teresa.
and thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. I'm really excited, and congratulations on your success in the show. What great numbers you have, so congratulations.
Well, thank you. 7 months into it, but Teresa, you're 15 years into it,
That's
starting
right.
today.
We
I understand
are.
it's your anniversary, isn't it?
15 years ago today, we opened our doors, and we're the first palliative care residence, freestanding palliative care residence on the island of Montreal. So we were didn't know what we were getting into, that's for sure, way back then. But through all the ups and downs, I'm very, very proud of my staff, very proud of our volunteers. And for those that don't know, we continue to be the only palliative care freestanding residence on the island, but more are coming and more are being built. So I think that's an important thing to mention right now. And palliative care really is about improving the quality of life of our patients and their families, not just at the end of life, but also throughout their illness. So we've been really, really blessed with just having such a great number of staff that work with us.
So you touched on what is palliative care and what you do,
Right.
but I think our listeners would probably benefit from understanding a little more about the support that you do offer to families and how you help the patients themselves.
I think the most important thing that we do is that when a patient comes through our doors with their families, the family is allowed once again to be a family member. They've often been caregivers. They've also often been the one who has been spending the days and nights with that person and being exhausted and overwhelmed. And when they walk through the doors, they can be a family member again. So they can be the wife, the husband, the child. And that's really important. So we do our very, very best to work with the families and the patients by offering support in many forms, not just physical management of symptoms, but emotional, spiritual, psychological, and it's very important that we give that service to both the patient and the families.
It's. I was fortunate, Teresa. Last week, I got a wonderful tour of your residence, and I was amazed. I saw that support firsthand. And one of the questions I had asked you, this really must cost a fortune for everyone, and I was amazed at your answers. So what we're going to do, we're going to get a little traffic update because it is terrible out there.
Yes.
But when we come back, we're going to talk about how you manage all that relatively free of charge. So it's quite an amazing story. So let's first head down to the CJD Traffic Center for a traffic update.
Life Unrehearsed on CJD 800, brought to you by alavida.ca. Celebrate a life well lived before or after death.
Only the good die young. That's what I said. Only the good die young.
Little Billy Joel for us. Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Matt Del Vecchio here with our new co-host, Corrie Sirota. Doing a great job, Corrie. Congrats.
Thank
And
you.
we are here with Teresa Dellar. Really pleased to have Teresa with us. She's the executive director and co-founder of the West Island Palliative Care Residence. Now, Teresa, before the traffic update, we talked about when I was amazed going through the residence, and I asked, how much does this cost? There's so much support, health professionals and everything, and the mention was there's no charge, and I was amazed. How do you do this?
First of all, the community does it. It's not me. It's we have such a generous community. We're so blessed, really, to have people coming out of the woodwork to help us. And I think most importantly, not only do they help us financially, but our volunteers are such an integral part of the residence.
So I'd really like you to, if you would mind expanding more on that, because I know that this is not an easy area to work in, yet what I understood is that you have more than your fair share of volunteers.
Well, the thing that's important to note is that I think when people walk in the residence, they're expecting it to be dark and depressing, but our volunteers really get so much out of it, and we get so much out of them, being part of the family, if you will. They work in all areas. They work in laundry, in the kitchen, in reception, in patient care, in fundraising, and they just do an amazing job. And we have volunteers from teenagers up until I think our eldest volunteer is 88 years old. And they're such a big part of our family, and it takes over 130 volunteers a week to run our residence. So we're always very, very grateful for all the work that they do, and we're always open to more volunteers coming. And we started a program this summer that brought in some teenagers in high school to learn more about palliative care, and that was a huge success. So
That's the ambassador program? Is that what
the
it's called?
ambassador program is another program. Actually, those are they're between the ages of 18 and 35, and they build awareness in the community. I love this program run by Lindsay Bellevue and Françoise Rimet, and they just do an amazing job of getting young people together, mostly to raise awareness, a little bit to raise money, but again, these are the people that are going to be caring for their parents, their grandparents in the future, so it's important that they understand what palliative care is.
What a great message.
You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. It's Matt Del Vecchio here with Corrie Sirota, and that was Teresa Dellar, Executive Director and co-founder of the West Island Palliative Care Residence. And we must add, recipient of the Meritorious Service Cross Award. And Teresa's very humble, and I know she doesn't even want us to mention that.
No, not
but
really.
this is a very prestigious award, recognized, given out by the Governor General and recognized by the Government of Canada. So congratulations on that,
Thank
Teresa.
you.
Very, very well deserved. Just continuing along with this whole free of charge.
Right.
And again, the government is, from what I understand, is subsidizing only a partial part of it, and you have to rely a lot on donations, don't you?
Right.
How does
so
that work?
they supplement about 1/3 of our budget, and we have to raise about $3.5 million a year. So that's an incredible amount
Per year.
of money for a small community organization. But it's really important that palliative care be offered to anyone, so that you don't have to worry about whether you can afford it. You don't have to worry about whether, how you're going to pay for your room in the palliative care residence or palliative care in general. Worldwide, palliative care should be accessible to all. And in fact, it was Worldwide Hospice Palliative Care Day yesterday, and that was the message that was going out to everyone, is that we must have access to palliative care universally, and the only way to do that is by offering it free of charge.
There's no question that that's absolutely true. You mentioned it has to be available to everybody. We live in an incredibly multicultural society.
Yes. Yeah.
So how does the residence handle that?
We're very fortunate. Again, we can communicate in approximately 18 languages, including being fluent in sign language. Not me, but with all our volunteers and our staff. It's really amazing.
It's 18 languages, and it just goes to show the thought behind the day-to-day activities. And Teresa, again, hats off to you for your vision and leadership, and just taking this to where you're at right now. And from what I understand, if you could just clarify, if I'm listening right now, and I may have a loved one that may require palliative care. How does one go about? Is this a doctor referral for specifically West Island palliative care? And even beyond that, let's say if West Island is not ideal, what do people do? So perhaps start with
I think
in the West Island.
the best thing to do always is to go to our website, which is palliativecareresidence.com, and you can look at the services we offer, how to apply, who needs to make out the referral, and you can also call us and just ask us. It's really important that we try and broaden the access to palliative care as much as possible. So if you're not in our area, or if you're in another town in Quebec, there's lots of services out there that we can recommend, that we can help you with, and including ours. So it's important to visit our website or to call us at 514-693-1718.
I have which might sound like a ridiculous question, but I wonder about wait lists.
Wait lists, right. Well, sometimes there absolutely is a wait list. Our average length of stay is approximately 15 days. So, we do our very, very best to bring people in as much as possible and as quickly as they need it. But of course, we are always accessible with we have nurses that do the admissions and that evaluate each case. So to say it's a wait list, I would say is more that it's who's in a priority, and who needs to come in, and it's not first come, first serve. It's looking at the whole person, looking at the care that they need and the care that the family needs.
That's Teresa Dellar, Executive Director and co-founder of the West Island Palliative Care Residence. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Del Vecchio here with Corrie Sirota. Now, Teresa, you talked about having to prioritize, and I think we need to emphasize, we talked about the incredible volunteer network, but you also have probably the best of the best in terms of health professionals guiding through pain management in the whole process of palliative care.
Yeah, we're very, very lucky that we have an incredible team. Our medical team is headed by Dr. Geneviève Richer, and tremendous amount of nurses that have been certified in palliative care, end of life nursing. We have social workers, art therapists, bereavement specialists and counselors that we follow families for a minimum of 1 year following a death. We have spiritual advisors. So it's really a holistic approach, and what we're really trying to again get through to so many people, and especially the government, is that dying is not a medical event. It's a social event. And so when you manage the symptoms, the physical symptoms, you have to work on the support and the care, and taking care of the family and taking care of the person who they are.
Right. Well, there's no question that you are doing that so incredibly empathetically and beautifully. And families are very lucky to have this kind of service for them. Given that you're doing this, given the great teams that you have and the plethora of volunteers, how do you manage self-care?
Well, that's a very good question, Corrie, and probably we'll have to talk about that in another time, but it's an important aspect of it.
It's and it really is, and I think you probably struggle with that, as they're obviously in a very heavy environment, and self-care for staff, volunteers is hugely important, Corrie. You're absolutely right. Now, Teresa, we have to wrap it up here, and I'd love for you to please repeat the contact numbers, website
sure.
that we could reach you at.
It's West Island Palliative Care residents at 514-693-1718. And the website is palliativecareresidents.com. And I'm happy to come back and talk about self-care at some point.
Please do.
I know we've run out of time, so thank you very, very much for inviting me here today.
And
Thanks
thank
for coming.
you. Yes, thank you
you.
very much. You're a trooper with a cold. And
Yeah.
That's right. It's always a treat.
No, we really appreciate it, Teresa. Now, coming up, we have a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking medical cannabis with Dr. Michael Dworkind. But first, we're going to head out to the Luciano at the CJAD News Update.
Life Unrehearsed on CJD 800, brought to you by alavida.ca. Celebrate a life well lived before or after death.
Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help.
How about a little Beatles there, Corrie?
Love it.
Oh, great. My name is Matt Del Vecchio. I'm a certified professional consultant on aging and owner of Liana's Services. It's a free retirement home search and senior transition support. Here with our brand new co-host. She's got half a show under her belt. Corrie, you're doing great. Corrie Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss. So coming right up, do you or someone you know have chronic pain? Well, you might want to consider medical cannabis, and you'd be surprised about the ages of people that are taking medical cannabis. So that's coming right up. Corrie, so you're feeling okay after half a show?
How am I feeling? I am feeling great. Really excited to be here, of course, and really was not worried because the truth is, given our next guest, I said, you know what? If I have a little issue, I'm going to see if he can hook me up.
You calm the nerves.
Yeah.
Oh, well, great. We are very fortunate that we have Dr. Michael Dworkind on the line. Dr. Dworkind is the medical director of Santé Cannabis and an associate professor of family medicine and palliative care at McGill University. Now, Dr. Dworkind and his team at Santé Cannabis work to reintegrate cannabis into medicine, raise awareness about its medical utility, and advocate for sensible policy reform. So, Dr. Dworkind, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Welcome. Well, thanks for joining us. I guess, Doctor, we should first start off with a simple definition of what is medical cannabis.
Well, medical cannabis is basically, we're using the cannabis sativa plant for medical purposes, something that's been used for probably thousands of years. Evidence goes back to ancient China. Having said that, legalized medical cannabis has only been around in Canada since the year 2000. And we, as Santé Cannabis, have been operating for about 4 years, helping patients, guide them through the system of finding the right medical cannabis products for them.
So what are some of the medical conditions that would be considered?
Well, in our experience, over 65% of our patients have chronic pain. Some have chronic cancer pain, but more so chronic non-cancer pain, which is probably an epidemic in North America. And there's a limit to how many analgesics people can tolerate, especially the elderly. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like naproxen or even Advil have significant side effects when taken chronically, daily, for months, if not years. Opioids, well, we don't have to talk about fentanyl. It's been in the news plenty. And again, opioids certainly have a high risk of side effects, addiction, and so on. Nothing like medical cannabis. This is what drew me into this work. Being a pain specialist, I discovered that ultimately we need something else. And in researching this, I found that medical cannabis is certainly a very important adjuvant for helping people with chronic pain.
You're listening to Dr. Dworkind, who's the medical director of Santé Cannabis and an associate professor of family medicine and palliative care at McGill University. And Dr. Dworkind is guiding us through medical cannabis. And Doctor, when you hear cannabis, you automatically assume, smoking cannabis, and I can't picture, grandma or my parents or even kids doing it for medical reasons. But, perhaps smoking isn't the only answer. In fact, far from it. What are the different types of medical cannabis available to people?
Well, the there is, you're raising the stigma of this smoking and getting high. The vast majority of our patients actually look not to get high. And it's important to recognize that there are advances in the science of medical cannabis that point out to the lower THC, high CBD. Let me just explain that. The two major components of cannabis, THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, and cannabidiol, CBD. CBD is not psychoactive, and it's a potent analgesic. It helps people with pain, helps people with nausea, helps people with anxiety, helps people with sleep, all of which chronic pain patients suffer. In fact, anxiety, depression, and sleep disorders are the next most common diagnosis we see at Santé Cannabis. Having said that, our Health Canada has designated licensed producers across the country who are specified and specialized in producing these specific forms or strains of medical cannabis that could be ordered by the patient who tries trial and error different kinds of products to find just the right one that gives them the most positive results and the least side effects. The other point that you're raising is smoking is not the way to go. We encourage vaporizing if that is going to be used by inhalation, but many of our patients, if not most of our patients, because of the chronicity of their chronic pain and other diagnoses, prefer oil. And oil is placed under the tongue, several drops, 1 or 2 or 3 drops, 2 or 3 times a day, depending on the need, and it lasts anywhere 6 to 8 hours, giving them literally the comfort that they need without any side effects, especially problems with inhalation, of course, with the lungs.
Dr. Dworkind, it's all very, very interesting. I'm wondering, you said you were talking about what you give them. How do you determine what the dosage should be?
It's a very good question. In fact, that's why doctors are wary of getting involved here. The dosage is actually based on the principle of start low, go slow. And most of our patients are given the tools, the guidance, and direction in terms of what strain and how to start treating themselves. And they will discover not very quickly, sometimes it takes several days or weeks before they find the right dose that meets their needs. We're available by phone to guide them through this process. They will decide on the dosage really for themselves. This is specifically because everybody has a different, what's called an endocannabinoid system, and they respond differently to different strains and different dosages.
Oh.
So there isn't one dose that would fit any person. And if you start low enough, they'll soon discover what's best for them.
Right, I see. Oh, well, thank you. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie with Matt Del Vecchio, and we're talking to Dr. Michael Dworkind about medical cannabis. So I guess naturally, this is so interesting to me. I want to know, how do we increase awareness throughout the community so other people can understand it the same way you're sharing it here with us?
Well, outreach and education is a cornerstone of our work at Santé Cannabis, whether it's radio shows like this or lectures. But I think one of the biggest barriers, in fact, in this process is our doctors. Doctors still carry the big stigma about medical cannabis. Many of our patients have to beg their physicians to get the referral. Some people will even write on the referral that this was not their decision, it was a patient's pressure that force them to write the referral. So the doctors are a major problem in the system, and it's medical cannabis requires a physician to instigate the referral.
It's quite amazing even that is an issue for you, and it's something that you have to deal with, and hopefully a show like this and other initiatives that you're doing, Doctor, will get the word out a little bit more. And one of the big questions that we want to talk about, certainly I get asked a lot when friends and so on found out about the show, is how much does it cost? So what we would like to do, we're going to get a quick traffic update, but we're going to ask you about what does it cost? What's the general cost of medical cannabis? But first, we're going to head to the CJD Traffic Center for a traffic update.
Life Unrehearsed on CJD 800, brought to you by alavida.ca. Celebrate a life well lived before or after death.
You heard my drums. I was getting my drums in.
Yeah, they didn't even hear me say that.
No.
I don't think. I said, "What's a medical cannabis show without Bob Marley?" Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. Thank you for listening in. I'm Matt Del Vecchio here with Corrie Sirota, and we're talking with Dr. Dworkind, who's the medical director of Santé Cannabis and an associate professor of family medicine and palliative care at McGill University. Dr. Dworkind, we talked about the cost,
Yeah.
and that's a question I'm sure you get all the time, and it's probably not an easy answer. But if you were to if you get to, what does it cost? What's the general answer we can give?
Well, it varies considerably. You know, quantity, quality, and price go together. There are over 40 licensed producers in Canada. There's competition to give good quality at a good price. People, unfortunately, who are work accidents and car accidents who aren't working, it's a big problem. We're looking at between $5 and $10 a gram for dry cannabis. Oils are more expensive. When you look at the range of available prices, it depends a lot on the people's capacity to pay. Interesting, Veterans Affairs covers the cost for PTSD veterans who suffer and do well with medical cannabis. We've been struggling because most insurances won't cover. No insurance covers, in fact.
Oh, okay, I was going to ask you that.
Except for the synthetic cannabis, which is available through pharmacies. I didn't mention that earlier, but there is a Navalon and Sativex product that it can be written as a prescription drug and is only THC and some with CBD, but doesn't compare to the 100 cannabinoids that exist in true dry cannabis.
Dr. Dworkind, is this substance addictive?
Good question. People often ask. I think if people want to get high, there is habituation. There's never an addiction. You can stop cannabis and there's no withdrawal. There are no difficult side effects if you ever stop. But the kinds of products that we are using in our work, patients find that the help is so great that they need it and they continue to buy it, but it's certainly not addictive. Nowhere, you can't compare it to Ativan or alcohol or tobacco.
That's Dr. Dworkind, Medical Director of Santé Cannabis and Associate Professor of Family Medicine and Palliative Care at McGill University. Doctor, one of the things when we were talking off air, you were concerned about even marketing Santé Cannabis because you're in a bit of a dilemma, aren't you, concerning the demand and supply of doctors?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Matt, because right now we have a waiting list of over 2 months. We have patients coming from all over the province, as far as James Bay in Quebec City. And our doctors are only working part-time. They all have other work. Despite the 7 doctors who work with us, we look to expand in the West Island. We have no doctors there. We have a group in Sherbrooke. We have a team in Quebec City. But on the Montreal Island, we're definitely interested in interviewing physicians who want to learn about cannabis, medical cannabis. We have a tremendous team of educators that help the doctors in this process, and it's one of the best places I can imagine to work with because the feedback from our patients is always so positive. I have patients telling me, this medical cannabis has changed my life. And what other doctor wouldn't want to hear that if they can help people in this way?
No question about it. So I guess we should put out a shout out for doctors to contact you.
Absolutely.
Okay. And in the same vein, can you talk a little bit more about Santé Cannabis? How it started and really the goal and objectives?
Well, we're basically a medical cannabis clinic that provides medical assessment for patients using or considering cannabinoid treatment and following the accordance with the guidelines issued by the College of Physicians of Quebec. It's a resource center in the respect that we help patients link up to the products, educate them about different ways of using the products. We even give out a recipe to create cannabis oil if you want to save money. but there's a price for that. It's not insured. It's for all the support they get, the education, the continuous follow-up. Every 3 months we see our patients. It's $250 a year. There's a sliding scale for people who don't have the funds, and they can be addressed at our center. We're doing a lot of research, both because the Collège des Médecins has a particular program where patients are required to complete documentation called a registry, and this is part of an ongoing process. Every 3 months, patients will look at how the benefit burden ratio occurred with their particular use of medical cannabis. It will help us guide us in the future to better understand which medical cannabis products help what kind of diagnoses in which kind of patients.
Well,
so it's a very active, very exciting place to work, and we're hoping that we can expand in a way that patients can have access to us in a timely fashion. And ultimately, if we can create a DIN number on our medical cannabis, it'll be looked on as an actual drug or medication available. That's a big discussion.
Yeah, and
that's wherever.
That's absolutely a work in progress, but I think it would be a great thing. Dr. Dworkind, we have to end it there. We want to thank you so much for your time. Medical Director of Santé Cannabis. You could look them up online. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up next week, we will be with Dr. Amy Dupree, who will be talking to us about essential conversations we need to be having with our family and parents. It's going to be an excellent show. We'll also be talking to Dr. Amy about women and money. So thank you very much for listening to Life Unrehearsed. You can catch us every Sunday at 4 o'clock. News will be coming up shortly.